Hey guys, can you hear me? Is it working? Yeah? Waiting for Shintaro Higashi. Let me save it. Hey guys, can you hear me? Is it working? Yeah? All right, what's going on, guys? How are you? All right, let's see. I'm going to turn this off here. Is that right? Okay, audio, video, very good. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's a huge honor for me to be here. I'm just messing around just a little bit with the settings because I'm not that tech savvy. So, all right, what's going on, guys? How are you? There's a little bit of a feedback situation happening. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's a huge honor for me to be here. I'm just messing around just a little bit with the settings because I'm not that tech savvy. So, alright, what's going on, guys? How are you? A little bit of feedback situation happening. Alright, let me shut this thing. Menu. All right, I think I'm ready to go. Okay, let's see here. Welcome everybody. Happy Mother's Day for those of you who are mothers or have kids and such. Yeah, thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure. It was a great week. Just gonna go right into it. Let's look at some questions that you guys may have. All right. Okay, so what is your favorite pickup? IJF legal or illegal? Doesn't matter. I think the Sukuinage is great. You know, someone goes for over the back, goes for a turn throw. You clip the tricep, you go in between your lift. Huge pickup. I think that's one of the biggest techniques in judo. That's just wonderful and gorgeous. That's one thing that I do miss about leg grabs because, you know, it's just so spectacular, right? Okay, hello from New Zealand. Hello, how are you? I'm in New York. Can you see me? That's me saying Ty Terrell. Thank you. I know you don't do judo yet, but I hope you get involved with judo because I think it's a great sport. Audio, video, good. I see Will Shrimster, right? Thank you for being here. As usual, you're always here. Thank you very much for tuning in. MBA candidate. That's exactly what I am. DJ Nada. Oh, that's my guy. That is Blue in the house. I love Blue. Blue is one of my favorite people. When I talk about the people at the dojo, right, and people ask me about member count and all this stuff, I sort of have a sort of secret, not a secret, but it's like sort of a way I don't really count students like, okay, 1, 2, I have 10 students, I have 20 students. I think of a lot of these guys and girls sort of in a net positive sort of a number. And some people are, you know, net +1, you know, they're there, they're doing the judo, you know, they're a good body to work with. But some people are a positive +2, right? Because just by being there, they bring so much energy into the room and they're just pleasant to be around and they make the other people in the dojo have a better time, right? So, you know, Blue is one of those people. Thank you. He has an amazing daughter that I have the pleasure of coaching. She's incredible. They have a wonderful relationship. And, you know, I sort of see, you know, me and my daughter down the road. Hope, you know, we could be like that too. And just an inspiration all around. He did, you know, jiu-jitsu for a long time, judo for a long time. Thank you for being here, Blue. All right. Let's see. You want to roll? Yes, we want to roll. Whoa, the Cajun Ninja. Glad you turned on Super Chat. Least I can do to support all the content that you give. Thank you so much. It means so much to me that you guys are, giving and all the stuff. Right now, it's kind of crazy, right? With the who knows, what the dojos are going to be like. My biggest worry when we come back is, people don't want to grapple anymore because the close contact is and judo and jiu-jitsu are not the most ideal for social distancing, right? 6 feet apart, that cannot happen because there is no takedown or any sort of submissions that you could do 6 feet away from another person. So, times of uncertainty, thank you very much for your support. Cajun Ninja, thank you. All right, let's look at some other questions here. What are your thoughts on Tai Chi? Did you see the Tai Chi Master versus Judo YouTube video? No, I have never seen that video. I do have a problem with a lot of these martial arts so-and-so versus so-and-so videos online because, it's just so taken out of context, right? Did that person do judo for a very long time? Is it a legitimate Tai Chi master? Are they in the same weight class? That's always a huge thing. I see videos like judo versus this martial art or that martial art, and the person outweighs the other person by 40 pounds. That stuff really matters, right? And their ability matters. Is that judo person, did they do judo for 5 months, 5 years, 10 years? How old is that person? All these different factors take into play. But generally, Tai Chi, yeah, it's more so like a philosophical movement-based thing. It's not so martial, I think. And yeah, that's my feeling on that. Okay, so let's go back up to this thing. I used to do judo for real self-defense a few times. That's great. I'm glad you were able to defend yourself. As someone looking to rebuild my confidence after growing up rough, would you recommend a private class one-on-one with an instructor before jumping into a full class? That's a great question, Ty. It really depends on your learning style, right? And it depends on the person, depends on the instructor. I have a feeling a lot of these martial arts schools wants to upsell you on one private lesson a week and this many lessons whatever month. And they want that because it's business, right? And that's how they make their money. I generally don't think it's necessary because what you can learn from a basic standpoint, you can learn from people who aren't so advanced. And the people who are very high level, very high rank, those guys come with a premium and they usually cost a lot. But the average yellow belt or the green belt can sort of give you a rundown on the basics right off the bat. So I don't think it's very necessary. Save your money. Maybe if you have some issue that you want to talk to the professor or the teacher one-on-one and let them know, this is my issue, whatever it is, and you want that private setting where you would feel more comfortable easing into the general population, then sure, I would suggest that. All right, weights and punching dummy are great, but not the same. I agree with you. Hi, it's Tara and Blue. Oh, Tara and Blue. Hey, Tara. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. All right. Throw and the headlock, leg out, and throw push is easy. Yep. Have you trained with Travis Stevens? Oh, that's a great question. I have trained with Travis Stevens. When I was trying to make the 2012 Olympics, I lived at the National Training Center with Jimmy Pedro for about a year. And during that time, I trained with Travis on a day-to-day basis. Every single day we trained. And, there would probably be about 10 rounds of randori, 12, 15 rounds. Whatever the amount of rounds there were, Travis accounted probably for like 3 or 4 of my rounds every practice. So I did train with him. He's a great competitor. He's a great athlete. I'm glad I was able to answer that question. What are your thoughts on Tai Chi? Okay, I answered that already. What is the advantage judokas have over wrestlers? And what essential aspect of judo is important in all of grappling? Inherent advantage over just strictly judo versus wrestling, right? I would say a lot of it is the stance, right? Judo's people are straight up a little bit, and if you're taking into consideration to get kneed in the face, kicked and stuff like that, that definitely matters. And in judo, there is submissions. So if a judo guy was to get taken down by a wrestler and they're on the bottom position with their legs wrapped around, they could still go for submissions. While wrestling, you may not have that knowledge, right? So that's sort of a very basic and on the surface difference. I think wrestling is great. I told you guys last week I wrestled for many years. I think judo is great. I think they're both great. All right, let's see. Man, these questions are rolling in really fast. I love that. So many people in here. Woo! What's up, Shintaro? Peter, I love Peter. Wisam Saleh, thoughts on last night's fights? I didn't watch it. I should watch more MMA, given that I'm a martial artist. But yeah, no, I didn't watch it. I saw some highlights. Looked pretty cool, It's really weird. I saw the highlights and I think Gaethje knocked out Tony or something. And then, there's nobody in the crowd. It's just such a surreal thing. It just felt weird, watching that. All right, Will. What situation do you find the hardest to deal with in competition and randori? Oh, that's a good question. Situation, almost always, like being outgripped is not fun. And a long time ago, when I would get outgripped, I would still try to stay in the pocket and fight, because you don't want to be the person that just takes a knee, right? Because then, you put yourself in a worse position and whatnot. But yeah, being in losing position is never fun, because if you stay in that pocket, you're going to get bombed, right? The best thing I tell my guys when you're in losing position is go for a bailout attack. Bailout attack like drop seonagi, tomonage, sumigaeshi, any sacrifice that takes you down to the ground. And then you can capitalize on the transitional aspect of judo. What you don't want to do, though, when you're doing those bailout attacks is every single time you get outgripped, if you go for the same bailout attack, then your opponent's going to be able to capitalize on that. Every time I put you in dominant position over the top and bring your upper body downwards to me, if you go for a drop seonagi, the second time I'm going to go for a choke, right? If you go for tomonage once and I almost get thrown, whatever it is, next time I outgrip the person, they go tomonage, I could go over on the pass and then pin the person, right? I could capitalize on it because I could anticipate every time I outgrip this person, person goes for this in order to bail out. So you want to mix up your bailout attacks, but it just sucks getting outgripped and being dominated. So yeah, I think would be a thing that's very difficult to deal with, especially in randori. In competition's a little bit different. You go into a match and you can't really read the person. Some people flip-flop right to left, but you can't tell which side is their better side, which side is their preferred side. Maybe they have a couple tricks in the bag. Maybe they have some big counters. They're waiting for you to turn your back. Those are all uncertainties in competition that make it a little bit tricky, and that's what makes competition also very exciting as well. All right. Should you breathe out when you throw? Yeah, I think so. You shouldn't breathe in. That's why you see all these martial arts are ha, ya. And, it became this silly thing, but I truly believe a lot of this stuff with the qiai and the yale is to train your body to exhale when you exert force, right? If you think about, like, if I told you to throw this baseball as far as you can, you're not going to wind up the baseball and inhale as you throw the ball, right? Right? Then you get no force, no power. You're going to exhale, right? Whew. Right? Same kind of idea. You should exhale when you throw anytime you're, trying to exert a lot of force. Okay. Tai. Not to drop my life story, but I've been shot before by my father. And does judo have anything to address someone pulling a gun on you? I'm sorry that happened to you. That sucks. That really does. Judo doesn't have any gun techniques. And I think a lot of the martial arts, when it comes to the weapons defense, it's sort of a blurred line, right? They have these theoretical techniques, defense against knife, defense against gun. A lot of the stuff, it's debatable whether they're actually applicable or not. So you have to really be careful with that. Directly in judo, when someone pulls a gun, no, not specifically. But if there is enough proximity, if the guy really doesn't want to shoot and you could grab him, then maybe theoretically. But don't quote me on that, okay? There's no... when the other person has a gun, that's bad news. Sorry about your father. Hope things get better for you, man. Okay. Thank you, Sensei. Okay, that's DJ Nada. Blue, I'm your fan from Morocco. Oh, Morocco. Nice. I've been to Morocco. They have unbelievable tagine. All right, tagine is like a dish made in a clay pot. They got chicken. They make these sandwiches. Unbelievable. I was there for a tournament. Beautiful country. Hello from New York. All right. Let's see here. Kevin Mohammed. Good to see you, Kevin. Hope all is good. How many ways do you plan to get out grip? Oh, here's a big one. What are your thoughts on Kyozo Mifune? Would you ever do a video on old school judo defenses and attacks from the seated position? Apologize, but I forgot the name, and I love your content. Thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much for the super chat thing. Kyozo Mifune, he's a legend, and there's actually a picture in my basement here. My father learning from Kyozo Mifune back in like the 1940s, and Kyozo Mifune was already an old guy. The thing that gets lost right now is that a lot of people watch these really old videos and they're like, oh, yeah, he looks legit, but it seems like it's cooperative, seems like it's a demonstration, and they go ahead and criticize some of this technique. But you have to understand, the techniques have evolved from the 1940s onwards. And we are so blessed because we have so much of these resources at the source of our fingertips, right? We could essentially just communicate to this massive cloud situation and be like, hey, what's the best way to do a taitoshi? And you can see the best people in the world show their taitoshi. And then you can get to the dojo and do it. Back in the day when it's very limited and a very no internet sort of a world, you have to go to someone's dojo and then train with them and be like, yo, can you teach me this, right? So it's a very different time, different era. I think for the time, he's a pioneer, he's a thought leader during that era. And, him and those other people who stayed in the sport taught judo to thousands of people who then on taught judo to another thousand of people, then thousands. And then so we do owe a lot of these ancestors a lot of gratuity and say, hey, thank you very much. But particularly compared to what I see now, is judo spectacular from back in the day? It's debatable, it's arguable, right? Some of the old school judos, defense attacks, and all this stuff, yeah, they're all there still, right? In one way, shape, or form. I still try to teach some kataguruma stuff and not tanitoshi so much, but kataguruma and leg grabbing, these things, and it really depends on sort of, I teach to the class always, right? I look at what are the needs of the class as a general whole, and then I try to teach my system. And sometimes a lot of this stuff from the old school, the antique, the traditional, sometimes is not what is the most necessary and most important at the time. So I hope I was able to answer your question. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, let's see here. Wow, there's so many questions. Oh my lord. I was looking into getting a judo dummy. Okay, another judo dummy. How big should the dummy be? I really don't know. I've never worked with a judo dummy before. Good luck with that. I would say big enough for you to pick up and toss, but not too big where you can't pick it up. And I don't know. All right, Gaethje and Khabib will happen. Gaethje is sharp right now too. Yeah, hope that happens. Posture is everything. Do you agree? And not everything, posture is great, but you could be off balance. You could have great posture, but someone kicks the legs out from underneath you. That's perfectly timed, and then that could potentially happen too. So I would say everything. It's very important, right? Posture is very important. If you have poor posture, you can't explode in and out of positions, but it's not everything. All right, MMA is massive and growing. What is your opinion on judo and MMA? Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of techniques that can be used in MMA. I think judo is unique because there's a sport aspect of it, there's the martial aspect of it, and then there is the martial arts of judo, right? So those are sort of three different ideas on this spectrum. And they're sort of one end, and it sort of goes to the other. And it's not restricted to each compartmentalized zone and existing in a vacuum. It's very fluid, right? If you think about it, there's sport judo, competitive judo, all this stuff. And then there's martial judo, where it's very warlike. The goal is to maim the person, right? It's fighting, the martial implications. And you see notes of that in MMA, right? And then there's the martial arts side of the dojo judo, where it's like, philosophy and ideas and all these different things, maybe even kata, right? There's nothing warlike or martial about kata, right? Because a lot of the ways that they do the kata techniques is non-applicable in a self-defense setting, right? But if you look at sport judo, where it develops you as a phenomenal athlete, puts you in that setting where someone is truly trying to hurt you and yank on your head, those indirect sort of benefits can help you in a self-defense setting. That being said, there's elements of the martial side of judo that are very apparent in MMA today. And, I just love seeing someone just getting launched, with a, Harai or Sasai or one of those guys. So, yeah, it's very exciting every time I see judo and MMA. But it's very important to note that, judo isn't fighting and, they're not very interchangeable, right? It's important to note that. All right. On the wiki page, it says, judo is the path of life. What is the philosophy of judo that I can follow on a daily basis? I think one of the most important philosophies in judo that I sort of preach at the dojo is mutual welfare and benefit. And this is a nice one. It's, Stephen Covey talks about it in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's just a win-win situation, right? You win, I win. Right? I mean, it's applicable in business. If I'm doing business with you in any sort of level, right? Maybe you're my supplier and I'm the buyer or whatever it is. And then, if I cheat you and if I make more money out of that, you're not going to be happy. You're never going to do business with me again. But if you have a price and I pay that price, you make money, I take that product, I sell it and make money, and we're both happy. We win both ways. Then, right, we're going to keep doing business together. We're going to keep growing together. And it's the same mentality with judo. And you have to find good people around you to associate with that's going to make you better, and you in return can make them better too. And I think that really is the philosophy and then the bedrock of judo. I preach this at the dojo all the time. If you're there for yourself just to get better and you're just smashing guys and feeling good and choking people and going home, then you're not really, doing anyone else a favor but yourself. And pretty soon, no one's going to want to work out with you. If no one wants to work out with you, you're not doing judo anymore. So that's very important stuff to remember. Mutual welfare and benefit. How was working with a huge honor for me? He was great. Bernardo was great. He asked, lots of questions, and he was so kind, and, it was amazing to see this guy, right? He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion coming into my dojo. People ask him questions. He's polite. He's so polite. And people are like, hey, can you show us the over-under pass? And, I'm sure he's shown it, 90 million times. And he's like, sure, yeah. And worked out and asked me judo questions. And after the practice was over, people would just ask him questions, and he was cool with it. So loved having him at the dojo. Loved working with him on Judo Fanatics. Everything about him, I like. Great. All right, video of your fights are amazing. Great to see your takedowns. Thank you very much. I have a couple in my arsenal. Is a judo closed guard useless in judo competition? Is it a waste of time to drill closed guard during the waza training during judo class? Should you focus more on top position pins? Not necessarily. If, like we were talking about a specific scenario where you get out-gripped and you use tomoe-nage or sumigaeshi as a bailout attack, and you go for that bailout transition to the ground, they end in closed guard. If you have an arsenal there, then you're going to have a major, major advantage. The difference between judo and jiu-jitsu, really, when it comes to the pacing of the sport, is that in judo, if there's no forward progression for 5 seconds, the ref says stop, gets you standing right back up. So, once you go for that tomoe-nage, the person postures up, ends in your closed guard, you have to immediately start your attack sequence. Generally speaking, I like to go scoop under the leg, create some sort of kazushi, and a juji, sort of a sweep back and forth. So you're sort of playing with their balance, attacking the arm. Playing with the balance, attacking their arm. So then you could use that to finish the armbar or sweep them. And if you're capable of sweeping them, you can get back on top, and then you can submit, right? Or pin. So I think that's very important, right? I don't think it's a waste of time. I think closed guard is very important. Attacking the turtle probably is the most important judo trait. And I would say third would probably be when the other person goes for sumi or tomoe-nage, splitting the dead legs and doing an over-under pass. I think those are 3 really, really important positions to learn. I'm just going to keep going and talk about it because I really have strong feelings about this. I think one of the greatest positions in grappling is the front headlock position. And unfortunately, with the rules of judo, people aren't really in that position so frequently. And I think a beautiful, beautiful position is sort of lost in the martial art of judo because of that. And, I have the experience in competing in a tournament, being in front headlock position when the opponent put the hands down, going for sort of a neck crank throw and going for a guillotine, getting disqualified for cranking on the neck. And it's just unfortunate. It's such a great position. I know wrestling has it, jiu-jitsu has it. I wish judo would, it's just a great position. I don't know why I just started. I just love the front headlock position. It's amazing, So, no, you should definitely work close guard, attacking the turtle, and then obviously passing when someone goes for sumi or tomonage. I think those are three really, really important things to know when you're training judo, newaza specifically. All right. How many bailout attacks do you need? That's a very good question. I like sumi and tomonage are really important, Will, because, you go to your back and then you have your legs in between and you could attack. If you have an open guard system, closed guard system, you could implement a lot of these different things. And, it's almost a surefire way to bring the, match to the ground. If you can learn both, that would be great. I think a lot of people benefit from having a drop seoi nage. Those are generally the three, right? Drop seoi nage, sumi, and tomonage. I mean, learn all three, really, and then pick and choose. What you don't want to do is just learn one and just spam that over and over and over again. And, you've seen those guys. That guys just keep doing drop seoi nage. What a pain in the ass. He's a sumi guy. He just keeps dropping to his back every time. At least if every time you're losing position, right, you go for a drop seoi nage, and then next you go for a sumi, and you're mixing it up, and you're almost throwing them, almost taking them over and breaking their balance, that's going to be rewarded down the line, right? So that's always going to be good. All right. How many ways do you plan to get out-gripped? Yeah, that's good. That was the answer to the Will. Thank you for answering, someone's questions. I don't breathe when I throw. Is that bad? Yes, Luca, you probably should breathe. Holding your breath during any sort of sport is probably not that good, right? All right, forearm muscle is very important in judo for a good grip. How do you exercise yours to build strength? Those squeeze things and lifting weights with just your hand bending it up. I'm about to tell you something really interesting. Your hands don't need to be that strong. They need to be strong enough, right? They need to be strong enough. And, using your hands is very important, but you're not generally squeezing and engaging your hands and your forearms the entire time when you're doing judo. If you're doing that, you're taking athletics out of the game a lot of the times because you're not as athletic when you're tense, right? Think about throwing a baseball. It's just so intuitive throwing things, right? If I said, hey, throw this baseball as far as you can. If you grab it and you're squeezing it as hard as you can, you're not going to be able to throw it, right? You have to have a loose hand and then hold the ball and then, right? Use your entire body and just whip it. And it's sort of the same idea, right? I don't think it's necessary to specifically train your hands and your forearms. If you have extremely weak hands and forearms, then yes, maybe. I think doing something like pull-ups can improve your grip strength to a place where you're not only training the hands, but you're training pull strength, bicep, back. If you're doing deadlifts and you're going heavy, right, you're training, to resist your opponent breaking your posture and bending you down. So, as you're doing that, you're also developing your hand strength. So I would go with something like deadlift, pull up, those kinds of things, right? Okay. What do you think about UFC 249? I didn't watch it. Thanks for the incredible courses on Judo Fanatics. You're very welcome. All right, let's see. I answer that question. Kevin wants to know how he gets buff like me. Just got to keep lifting and eating protein, right? All right, what do you think of Mongolia in judo? I love Mongolia. I think Mongolian wrestling is so cool. No weight classes. You have these little robes. You have bare chest. You have these little things. You grab the belt. Simple rules. Take each other down. The Mongolians have a really, really cool culture over there. If you have sort of like this, grappling culture, fighting culture, they love that. Horseback riding, Mongolian wrestling. I think there's like an archery. right? Those are the three very, very, very popular sports over there. Everyone does it. I love their style. It's influenced by their wrestling style, and they succeed in freestyle wrestling and sumo and judo, all these different grappling arts. I love their style. So definitely, definitely suggest. Yeah. All right. Kevin and Luca kind of having a little good time here. In real fights, people eye gouge, headbutt, women hit you with their high heels, get stabbed, spat on. Real fights are not nice at all. I said, yeah, that's good advice. I know judo relies on gripping with the gi, but are there judo techniques that work without the gi or in the street clothes? Yeah, for sure. A lot of these techniques follow this concept of leverage and keeping your center of gravity beneath theirs, right? So all these different things, can be applicable in a no-gi setting. The most interesting thing I find about the application of judo in a real-life setting is, and the most helpful thing about doing judo, is the fact that you're doing high-intensity problem solving every single day, day in and day out, right? You have a goal, they have a goal, they're cranking on you, they're trying to throw you, it's high impact, high intensity, and being able to apply strategy through that in a stressful setting, that's really one of the biggest advantages of doing judo, right? And that's going to help you indirectly in a self-defense setting when things are crazy and limbs are flying, right? But judo by itself, I don't think is sufficient. You have to have a basic idea of, closing the distance and have a basic knowledge of how to avoid getting punched, right? And yeah, it really matters who you're fighting too. You're fighting someone like Mike Tyson, right? And it's going to be very difficult to not get punched. But if you're fighting the average unathletic schmuck who sits on the couch all day and they throw that looping right hand and they miss, they're going to fall right over. You're going to grab them. You're going to take them down. You're going to pound them, right? So hope that helped hope I answered your question. All right. Katagruma says, hello, brother. I'm a judoka. Follow you from France. Hello from New York. In terms of self-defense, what throw would you recommend in order to neutralize a threat? Uranage or Soto Otoshi? A lot of self-defense questions. All right, I think one of the most useful takedowns in judo is just a simple foot sweep. If you understand how the body mechanics works with the weight shifting from leg to leg, and you could attack one of the legs when the weight comes off of it, you could knock someone off their feet in an instant. And I think it's very, very useful skill to have. I think it's low risk. If you go for a big turn throw and then they have your back and they know what to do, they're going to choke you, right? And it's a risk-reward situation. You go for a quick foot sweep when the guy's in your face, right? It's very nice to be able to knock them over right away. If they cannot and they start grappling with you, then you can go for like a koshiguruma or whatnot, right? So, yeah, I would say foot sweeps are very, very effective in a real-life setting. It's kind of funny to think, right? When you think of getting in the fight and you visualize yourself scrapping with someone, you see you taking the person and launching them. But a lot of the times when the person has no experience grappling and, you're trying to defend yourself against the average Joe, a simple foot sweep and such can work wonders. All right, Kevin Muhammad, what is your favorite throw? Which throw do you think has the highest rate of success in tournaments? I think Uchimata, Sanagi are the highest success rates in tournaments. Don't quote me on that, though. I can't remember off the top of my head. My favorite throw, I don't know if I have a favorite throw. I kind of want to say Uchimata, but, I'm short. It's difficult for me to do. It's going to be tough. All right, let's see. Belief in life as a zero-sum game is not a necessary one. Wise words from Grady. Yeah. Sometimes it is a zero-sum game, though, All right, you said the katas are not applicable in self-defense. What about all the principles taught in the Nagano kata and katamino? In France, we believe katas are the grammar of judo. I mean, yeah, you could say, you would argue. I mean, kata is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of things in kata that's underneath the surface that is absolutely beautiful. It's a work of art, if you think about it, right? You're going right side, left side. You're going on 3, 1 initiation, 2 making the setup, and then 3 the application, right? All the way from how the person falls, controlling, how the person gets back up. Everything about it is beautiful. The set of 3s, right? So you're doing 3 movements. 1, 2, 3. You go right side, left side, and there's a set of 3. The first series, the second series is a set of 3, the third series is a set of 3, and they have this sort of progression that if you actually step back and look at it, it's very, very artistic and beautiful. But is it going to help you when someone's trying to punch you in the face? The unpopular opinion to that is no. Right? I think it's a very important part of judo, and I think it's part of tradition that is very necessary, and it teaches control and body and posture and breathing and all these different things. But does it have a direct effect on your ability to defend yourself in a fight? I'm going to still go with my no answer on that. All right. Have you ever read The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi? Yes, I have. Elon Musk just died. Is that really? I gotta Google that. I love Elon Musk. I have a Tesla. I love it. Elon Musk. Did he really die? No. Is this guy trolling me? It doesn't appear so. It'll be ironic if he got the coronavirus, though, right? I mean, he's, open up, doing that thing. All right. In what way does BJJ help your judo, and what way does judo help your BJJ? That's an interesting question. I don't think judo and BJJ are as different as people think it is. I think there's more similarities and differences. I talk about this all the time. BJJ has helped my judo newaza. My judo newaza specific to judo has always been decent, right? I know how to turtle tie it. I know how to attack the turtle. I know how to do an over-under pass. And the techniques in judo newaza that's necessary for judo competition, I've always been proficient at. But outside of that, right, in the world of jiu-jitsu, it sort of gave me, I guess, a deeper understanding of newaza as a whole, right? And, it's sort of inspiring to see some of these brand new techniques like the berimbolo, okay? It's like, okay, you could argue to the cows come home, like I think Keenan Cornelius is like, berimbolo doesn't work and all this stuff, and you could argue all these techniques and systems, but there is an evolution, right, that's happening there in newaza, and, a lot of the stuff that's already happened, right, in judo before, and it really inspired me sort of to learn and get outside my comfort zone and say, hey, I don't know everything. I need to learn a little bit more, and I think that really helped my judo overall. On the reverse side, how judo helped my BJJ, it's like I just did judo, 99% of the time, so it made my newaza good, and yeah, I mean, most of my jiu-jitsu BJJ comes from judo for me. It's stuff that I've always done. So that's a hard question to answer. But thank you for the question. All right. R.I.P. Elon. R.I.P. Elon. I don't know if Elon is dead. Was it difficult to transition between the different competition rule sets in judo and wrestling? It really was. I'll tell you a story. In 2007, my first national championship in judo. During that time period, to make a world team, if the number one guy in the country wins the national championships, that person automatically went to the world championships, Team USA. Now, if the number one person in the country doesn't win the nationals, the national champ and the number one guy has to do a best 2 out of 3 for that world team spot. I was coming off wrestling season. I was feeling pretty good. Wrestled my, heart out all season. Walked into nationals in 2007 in April, and I won nationals. Right, blew my mind. I didn't really think I had it in me at the time. The best I've done before that was like 5th. The year before that, I took like 7th. I had a good tournament. I won it. I was a national champ, and then I had to do a best 2 out of 3. with the number one guy in the division at the time, which was Adler Volmar. And, best 2 out of 3. The first one, I beat him again, So I beat him twice, the national final, and then that one, the first out of 3, and then the second one out of 3. We're doing judo. I'm shooting on the legs, completely fine, and I elevate the leg, and I clip him in front of the knee, take the back of his collar, and bring his face down to the floor. He fell face first into the ground. Completely okay in wrestling. I did it all season. Absolutely illegal in judo. So I immediately get a disqualification. And this is the issue. When you get DQ'd by doing something illegal in a match, you get disqualified from the whole tournament, which immediately made me have to forfeit the third match, which means that he won the second and the third match, and he secured his spot on the world team. And I was winning that match with 2 minutes left. So it was kind of heartbreaking. Sometimes it's very difficult to transition from rule set to rule set. My biggest issue in wrestling was I would throw the person. I could always throw them. And then once I land on them, I would roll through, and then the other person would get 2 for a takedown, right? And yeah, it was difficult, but it's okay. It's okay. Let's see. If there was a zombie apocalypse and a zombie is about to jump at you, what throw would you use to avoid getting bitten? Dude, if there was a zombie apocalypse and zombie was attacking me, I will not use judo. I would probably learn how to use a bow and arrow or something where I could create distance, because a zombie will bite you and infect you, right? It's similar if someone who attacks you with coronavirus, you don't really want to get in a grappling match with them because they give you coronavirus, right? So you want to be able to create a distance, maybe like a long staff or something, long stick, who knows? All right, let's see here. What throw would you recommend against the cage for MMA? Harai Goshi. That's a good one. My friend and I don't have judo around us, so we just practice at the park. Ooh. For the most part, we just do uchikomi because we throw each other on the ground. It kind of hurts. Any ideas on how to get into randori without mats? That's a tough question, man. I think it's very dangerous to do randori without mats. I would just go do some newaza because groundwork is a little bit safer. And, you could probably wrestle a little bit too. I'm not advocating wrestling outside of a gym. Yeah, go find some mats. Go find mat space at the local gym or jiu-jitsu school or wrestling school or something. Because, judo in the park is, probably not going to be a good idea. All right. Let's see. Lost my place. Elon Musk just told us how in the future we would be able to transmit the complex idea of throwing a cage without using our words. Grady loves Elon Musk. I love Elon Musk too, man. I listen to that podcast, talk about the Neuralink and, ability to upload information faster than a thumbs can do it. I love that idea. I love that concept. I hope he does it. All right. Why each Japanese judoka has his own kind of uchimata? Fata, I don't think it's just limited to the Japanese. I think a lot of people do techniques their own way, and that's the beauty of judo, right? You could do a sotogari in 100 different ways, right side versus left. You could clip it, you could drive it, you could go clean osoto, you could go chest to chest, you could go lapel grip, high grip, Georgian grip. There's millions of different ways you could do anything. It really is about how you make the technique yours, and then you apply your interpretation of the technique, and most importantly, how your technique fits into your system. Example, if you're a big, strong, tall person, and 90% of the time you go over the back and then you pull the person down because you're physically taller than someone, like this, right? And all of a sudden you want to learn Ippon Senagi, all right? And you're learning it from the lapel collar grip to go underneath. If you spend 90% of your match above someone, for you to let go of that dominant position and to go underneath for Ippon Senagi, that's a little silly, and it doesn't fit into your system, right? So you have to always take those things into consideration when you are learning judo. Okay, let's see. Will Smith's daughter has been whipping it for some time now. Okay. Grady's definitely saying some interesting things there. high percentage submission during Newaza is arm triangle. Mount or kesa, is it illegal in competition? No, it's legal, right? I only see people doing kata gatame but never finishing the strangle. No, that's because you're getting rewarded on the pin side of it, right? Why risk going to strangle if you can hold them there for the pin? The countdown starts, time goes, and you win, right? So that's sort of the downside of sport judo. And I always advocate, even at the dojo, when you're in pinning position, to hold that person for 3 minutes the entire round is the biggest waste of time. Hold them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, transition to other positions, look for submissions, right? Because you want to develop your grappling game as a whole, not just specifically to the rule sets of sport judo. Okay, really important to note that. Benjamin Varga. Hi, you're my favorite judoka. Thank you very much. Let's see. Which Europeans is better in judo than the American? Why the Europeans is better in judo than the American? I don't know. I think they have good judo in Europe. I think judo is more popular in Europe. And, I guess it's a lot of it's infrastructure. Right? People ask me, why are the Japanese so good at judo? And it's just the pipeline of athletes that come through from middle school, high school, college. The more the volume, the more the people who are going to shine at the top, right? Think about in your local high school, how many kids tried out for the baseball team, how many kids tried out for the basketball team, and how many of those kids have been playing baseball or basketball since the time they were little kids, right? Whether it's at the park or in the driveway, anywhere. Right? If you compare that to the volume of people that are being fed through the judo system in the United States, it's a lot lower. And if you look at some, place like France, I know someone from France is in this thread. They have millions and millions of active judoka because it's in the school system. Right? If you go to school in France and you're doing phys ed, you're gonna have a judo class. Supposedly, from what I hear, I don't know. I didn't grow up in France, but from what I hear, you can do judo in school for gym. Right? So once you have infrastructures in place to do that, then you're going to have judo, that's going to some of the very strong top athletes are going to come through that pipeline, and then you get the Teddy Renairs, and then you get the Dimitri Dragons and all these guys, right? All right, would you recommend training Western boxing or Muay Thai to add to judo? Yeah, why not? Learn some striking too, but I always suggest, learning something and really learning something. Knowing what, you gotta know what you want, right? Thai, I think if you want to learn sort of the philosophical side of judo, that could potentially help you too, All right, Spiky, thank you for answering every single question. You must be the only YouTuber who does that. Huge respect to you and your family. You have a lovely family. Family comes first. Protect them. Cheers. Thank you very much. I am guilty, though. A lot of the times the questions that get answered on my videos do not get responded to because, man, typing through all those questions is very, very, very difficult and, painstaking. I wish I had more time. This is just my way of giving back. You're very welcome. And, yeah, family is very important. All right. Why aren't any IJF Grand Slams held in the United States? I think it's a money thing. I think it costs money to do, and you have to pay the IJF. And it's very strict and political too, as well, I hear. So, yeah, no Grand Slams, definitely Grand Prix. They had a Miami Grand Prix once. Yeah. Have you done Sambo before? Yes, I have. If so, what are some similarities and differences you notice between Sambo and Judo? Sambo, you could shoot on the legs. Sambo, you're not wearing pants. And Sambo, you could go for knee bars. Combat Sambo, there's striking as well. All right, let's skip around a little bit. Which is more effective for self-defense, Judo or Japanese Jiu-Jitsu? It always depends on the athlete, always, right? If you're a freak athlete, 6'3", massive, 230 pounds, you could get away with doing some really not so effective martial arts and being able to defend yourself. I think the beauty of Judo is when you do Judo, you develop yourself to be a better athlete, bigger, stronger, faster, more coordinated, and all those tools can help you in a self-defense setting. Imagine you take a person who's relatively athletic, no sport experience, no combat experience whatsoever, put them in Judo, and then let them ride that for 5-10 years. right? All of a sudden, you have a very strong athlete. They're explosive, they're fast, they're coordinated, and they have the ability to take someone down and strangle them, right? That's definitely going to help you in self-defense. And the way you get that way is through competitive, non-cooperative, combative training, which is randori, right? So I think that's immensely helpful for self-defense. Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, I'm sure it can help too, right? Japanese Jiu-Jitsu's got techniques. It doesn't put you through that same sort of ringer as Judo, right? But you know, you could always argue that you can do Judo for 10 years, come out with bad knees, and can't defend yourself against anybody. So you just never really know. It really depends, right? It's what you make of it. When you're doing any martial art, you have to think about the martial implications of it and how it applies to you, and you know, you have to do a little bit of thinking and not just take in the information and just absorb it for yourself and then just that's it. You have to sort of expand with it and take all your other knowledge and then sort of mesh it together, right? That's really important. All right, how do I download into my head an MMA judo program like Neo did in the Matrix? I don't know the answer to that question, right? What advice would you give to someone who wants to start judo after the COVID period? What can we do to prepare or get ahead in the meantime? Love your video, Shintaro. Thank you very much, Sean. COVID, post-COVID judo. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting time. Like I said before, the grappling arts might take a hit. You know, who's going to want to put their kid in wrestling after this, right? You're going to go into a room and people are going to be grappling with each other day in and day out. It just seems like more added risk. Why not put your kid in golf now, you know? So I feel like a lot of people are going to be thinking about that. It's definitely something to think about. I have my ideas about, you know, forming small groups, reservation-only classes, having set number of training partners that you could only work out with, you know, sanitation stations and all this. The landscape of martial arts seems like it's going to change, but we just don't know, right? And, you know, we can't really get too crazy about the stuff that we don't know. Maybe a vaccine comes out next year and all this stuff just completely goes away. You know, we don't know, right? So until we know more, we can't really sweat it. You know, I'm not too worried. How do you prepare and get ahead in the meantime? You know, you watch some judo videos, you watch some instructional videos, and you get in shape, right? This is a great time to get in shape, you know, and I sort of went down the path of eating cookies and hanging out for a little while. You know, I was eating peanut M&Ms, it's my favorite, and all this stuff, but I'm starting to really get back on track now, and I'm saying, all right, this is a great time. Don't waste this time. Spend it, you know, be very attentive to your daughter, and don't eat this garbage, and get in great shape, right? I'm starting to get motivated again. So, yeah. A lot of questions. All right. Woo! All right, let's see. In your opinion, how have judo evolved over time? No more leg grabs. That's something. BJJ seems to have constant changes in the meta of the competition, but has that been the same for judo? Yes, of course. You know, you see new combinations happen all the time. I see things like this in the dojo too. You know, I saw maybe about 2 months ago, this was very impactful for me. I saw my green belts hit a combination I've never seen before. I've never seen it before. It was like adjust the gi, dominant position, fake step, tomonage. The person cartwheeled up, pulled the person up, and then the person who went for tomonage followed up with the dashi and took the person down. This is a green belt that did this. Kaim did this. I was so blown away by it. I was like, holy moly, I've never seen that before in my entire career of judo. Right? He literally did a tomonage. The opponent cartwheeled out, got to his feet, pulled himself up, and then foot swept him, the trailing leg. And, you know, things like this happen in competition, in, you know, training. And can he replicate it again? Probably not, you know. Can I replicate that? You know, it's a very specific set of reactions that happen, you know, for me to be able to go to replicate that again, right? The person has to sort of give me the perfect tomonage defense and also provide sort of like a uplifting thing. Yeah, it's just judo's always evolving, grappling's always evolving. You know, if you look at wrestling, it's always evolving. Slight rule modifications and things like this always changes the nature of the sport. Maybe it's not as apparent in judo, but it's happening, right? And I think the bureaucratic nature of judo being an Olympic sport prevented from making these massive sweeping changes, right? Jiu-jitsu, you could have sort of this idea because it's unregulated, and you could just say, hey, we're going to do jiu-jitsu 10 minutes, no submissions. You could submit from this period to that period. You could make up rule sets, make up point systems. And when there's completely free for all, anyone could do whatever they want. Then, of course, the pattern for progression and evolution, it's going to be much faster, right? With judo, you can't do that because in competition, IJF, Olympic Committee, they just sort of rule with an iron fist. So yeah, maybe. Patrick, what's up, Patrick? What are the major differences between Kokushiru Jiu-Jitsu and Judo? Kokushiru Jiu-Jitsu is a Japanese judo system that my father created back in 1963. It's very different from Judo because it's traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, right? A lot of self-defense system, and it's very, very organized in this linear progression where it's front close techniques with no striking attacks, side techniques, back techniques, and then you go into front striking defense, right? And then you go into front knife defense, and then, XYZ. And at every level, there's sort of a corresponding kata system and kumite sort of methods that go alongside the said rank, right? So if you're looking to learn martial arts in a not progressive, but like in a progression where you have a solid curriculum and you know exactly what you need to learn step by step, I think it's one of the best things. Of course, I'm biased, my dad's style. There is judo influence. My father's an avid, lifelong martial artist, and that's his baby. Kokushiru Jiu-Jitsu, and they've been doing uchi and sparring and MMA stuff long ago. Not so much now, right? Times have changed a little bit, but long ago, I remember when I was a kid watching these guys spar, punching each other, kicking each other, taking down, doing newaza, all those different things. And, you have to remember, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu was the mother of all martial arts initially, and then came Judo from that. And then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came later on, right? So, great question. Thank you for mentioning Kokushiru Jiu-Jitsu and throwing that in there, right? Something very close to me and my heart and all that, and my family. All right, how long does it take to become a black belt in judo? Because I'm told black belts are really the beginning of life in judo. Depends on the athlete, right? Depends on the athlete. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Depends on the teacher too, right? All right, let's see. Buying mats, working on a garage. Someone got hit in the head with an axe. Do you think judo would be safe? It depends on what kind of injury you sustained. But yeah, what would be a good setup for Kagato Jime? Kagato Jime. I don't know what that is. Let me Google that really quickly. Kagato Jime. Kagato Jime. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, okay. It's essentially a gogo plata, what they say, right? Uses the shin bone and attacking the throat. I mean, like all newaza attacks, you don't want to just learn one technique and you want to use it in conjunction with everything. I'm not too familiar with that show. I don't really use it in my arsenal. I guess if you're going for a udagarami from closed guard position and the person postures up, you could thread that shin across the throat, right? And then catch that head. Hopefully that answered your question. All right, who is your favorite judo player to watch now? I like Abe, I like Shohei, I like the greats from the Japanese team. But my all-time favorite judoka is Kosei Inoue. He's incredible. And he's just such a stand-up guy, too, Yeah, go YouTube Kosei Inoue highlights, right? And ironically, I'm one of the results where, the young 20-year-old me working out with Inoue, getting the shit kicked out of me, right? Not something that I want anyone to really see. But, at the time, he was coming off a double Olympic gold medal, and he was the best in the world. And I was just some young 20-year-old kid doing judo. So, no shame in that. But, yeah, I think Inoue is one of the all-time greats. And, yeah, he's just incredible. He's a great coach. He's compassionate. He cares about judo. And he completely changed the landscape of how judo is being coached in Japan. Right? Long time in Japan, it's negative reinforcement, punishing the kids, beating them. Coaches used to carry a stick, and whoever's lazy, they get slapped in the back, and it was like this switch-like situation. So it would hurt and leave welts through the gi. And that was the common thing that coaches did. Judo coaches were scary. Judo coaches would beat their athletes. A common thing that they do in the middle school and high school is that they would choke them and choke them unconscious. And man, this is so horrible. They would choke them unconscious and make it a habit for them to instantaneously shut down, so they would not fear getting choked and tapping in competition. And that was the worst. If they get on board in competition and they gave up, then it's acceptable, right? Because you don't want to break your arm, and you don't want to not train for that, and you want to be able to compete. But if you got choked and you gave up before you willingly went out, that was like one of the worst infringements. And then the coaches would make sure that would never happen by choking these kids unconscious all the time. Stuff like this used to happen. And I think, in a way, when he took over, it was like, all right, we got to change all this. We can't do this anymore. Don't beat our kids. Love them. And just positive reinforce every athlete from beginning to the end. Just, just that kind of a guy. I could go on, but I'm not gonna. But yeah, Inoue is my all-time favorite judoka. That's competitive judoka, right? If you talk about judoka, period, I'm gonna have to go with my dad. He's awesome, right? Shohei's great now. All right. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Arik says, I see your judo videos on YouTube. Do you know any judo schools in Brooklyn, Queens area? Yeah, there's a bunch over there. ITC's over there, right? With Greg Gutman, he's a legend. Love that guy. Brooklyn BJJ's over there. Brian Glick, seek him out. In Brooklyn. That's BJJ. There's a lot of judo schools out there, so go take a look, All right, Sako Hartunian. I'm a purple belt in BJJ, but I would want to train more takedowns to round out my game, and I only have enough time or money to train one art. Should I sign up for judo and take time off from BJJ? It's always a tough question, right? There's a lot of factors going into that, right? Maybe you talk to your instructor and say, hey, I really want to learn more takedowns, and then the instructor says, oh shit, I'm a judo black belt too, and maybe he could teach you more judo. Then you wouldn't have to give up your school and give up your training now to go into a new school, right? So be open with your teacher. That's kind of important. All that stuff. If you want to learn judo, this is the thing. You're already a purple belt in BJJ, right? If you're going to give that up to look for a judo school, when you look for another school, you're starting from scratch. And a lot of the times, there's no guarantee that the first school you go sign up is going to be good. And that's the problem with finding a good school. When you walk into an academy, they're giving you their best sales pitch, right? So it's very difficult for the consumer to tell in terms of longevity how the school is going to be to them down the line, a year from them, 2 years from 3 years from them. And the worst thing you could do is go and buy into a sales pitch, and all of a sudden you spend 3 years training. They're like, oh man, never really learned anything over here, right? So if you like your jiu-jitsu school, stay. But I would suggest, maybe shop around, go ask questions, and maybe there's a judo school that you click with. Maybe there's go have conversations. But I would first and foremost talk to your instructor, because maybe they could help, right? Maybe they do judo already. Who knows? Maybe they're a wrestling champ, you know? Never know. All right. Krav Maga better than Judo? Okay. Sure. All right. Yeah, this is the thing about the martial arts, right? There is no like this martial arts is better than that. And I get some people how they want to think that way. And I get that. I get that. This might be unpopular opinion, but there's a martial art for everyone out there. And finding that fit is really, really important because not everyone could get down and scrap like judokas, right? And not everyone can come in here and butt heads and kick each other in the shin and take each other down. And their fingers hurt, and their toes hurt, and their knees and risk their shoulders and getting slammed on the mat. Not everyone can take that, right? Not everyone wants that, you know? Some people want to strike, and some people want to strike without getting concussed. So they go to boxing, they tell everyone they box, but they don't spar, right? There's a majority of people who go to these boxing gyms that never spar. Are they really doing boxing? Yeah, they're boxing. They're going to boxing, they're learning boxing, you know. So, you know, there's a martial art for everyone, you know, and I think that's really one of the things that, you know, people always ask, which martial art is better? You know, and I know when I'm in my classes and people who are non-grapplers, non-fighters, non-martial artists, they're always asking me questions like, why is this martial art that? And is Muay Thai better than Tai Chi? And I did Taekwondo as a kid. And there's just so much misinformation out there. But yeah, this is the place to, you know, talk about it and understand it. So thank you guys for being here. All right. How's my game plan? Can you answer, please? From actions, reactions like push, pull, push down, push forward, backward, him. Lift his arms and down, get a reaction. I like to start combinations. Yeah, I don't really get your question. Did you watch UFC 249? No. I trained in judo. Woo. Can I do the split? Not even close. I'm very inflexible. My shoulders are inflexible. I lift a lot, and a lot of it is genetic. You know, I can't even touch my own shoulder with my hand. You know, very tight shoulders, tight hips, tight hamstrings. It's not necessary to be flexible. It's not a precursor of doing good judo, right? So don't worry about that. All right. None of you have been in a real fight. I can say that for sure. I mean, you know, almond M&Ms are my favorite. Peanut ones are good too. Will, peanut ones are so much better than almond M&Ms. In France, judo plays a huge educational role for the youth. Even the smallest village has at least a dojo, if not more. Besides the fees, clubs also get grants, subventions from local authorities. Yeah, it's a good thing, you know. Like that. Can you make videos about front headlocks and how to utilize them in judo perfectly? Yeah, I can do that for you. Stay tuned. Any tips on learning Sumiyotoshi? Not really, no. You know, that's one of those things, you know, it's you want to learn, you don't want to learn just one technique, right? You want to learn techniques in conjunction with the techniques you know. You want to have synergy between the attacks. They have to work together, right? And in order for your techniques to work together, you have to be able to understand the concepts of position and which positions are advantageous and all these different things. You know, you guys heard me say it a million times, so I'm just going to keep on going. All right. Hey, Shintaro, greetings from Germany. The videos really helped me out ever since my local dojo has closed. You're very welcome. We're all in this together, and hope your judo journey keeps on continuing once this is all over. How's John Wick's judo? Looks pretty good to me. I mean, if you could... That's the thing about movies, right? Anytime you go for an arm throw, you get it. Anytime you go for an other guy, you get it. You know, it's not really like that in real life. I mean, I guess if you're doing that against people who are completely untrained, then sure. You know, John Wick would probably be a judo black belt. You know, I would say the level that he's hitting it at, you know, in conjunction with his shooting and his kicking and punching. Yeah, John Wick's a great martial artist. It's kind of interesting though because I watch these movies, right? And they never show them training. So it's like, how can they maintain that skill set without constantly training? You know, it's one of those things I always think about when I watch the martial arts movies. All right. That randori you had with Inoue was just unbelievable. Yeah, I got the shit kicked out of me. That was not fun. Yeah, those guys are good. What do you think about Shohei swinging Uchimata where he swings his whole body around? I think it's amazing. I like it. Feelings on Koga, William Shrimster. I love Koga. I think Koga's amazing. You know, he's got incredible Ippon Seinagi. I think he had an impact on a lot of people. Yeah, he was great. Ippon Seinagi, Kochi. Incredible judoka. Wakigatami from standing was outlawed in 2017. In Newaza is okay. All right. Christian, Shintaro, it's Christian. Miss doing rounds with you at the dojo. Here's hoping we can get back at it soon. Christian, I miss you too. If my students are watching, I miss everybody so much, you know, and yeah, it's like I'm missing sort of a part of me, you know. What I get the most out of being at the dojo is just being inspired. You know, I mentioned Kaim doing that crazy Tomonage and Dashi, and here's something about me. I don't really watch judo that much. I don't watch IJF tournaments. I don't keep up with the latest UFC. That stuff doesn't really inspire me so much because I've been around so many great athletes in judo and wrestling and all this stuff. I get the most satisfaction watching judo and the most inspiration, you know, watching my people, my students do some of this stuff because they're working 9 to 5, working all day. They're working professionals, and they're coming in, you know, at a lot of the times at an adult age, right? They're starting later in life, and they're learning this art, and they're doing so beautifully, right? And I think that's one of my favorite things about the dojo, that I see these guys from all walks of life coming in there grappling, and they're very cognizant about keeping each other safe, making each other better, and all those different things. It's like one of my favorite things. I miss judo a lot. I miss the dojo a lot. You know, I don't really miss sports. You know, people are like, "Oh man, you know, my baseball season, my football season, you know, NBA." I don't miss that at all. You know, I wish I could get into like watching football, you know, and stuff. But Mark Sobere. Would you rather have won the Olympics at age 25 or got a job for $1 million a year starting at age 25? That's a very good question. Considering that, I mean, that's a tricky question, you know, Mark. Depends on the job, right? You know, I had a couple of opportunities, and you know, I worked in like the regular jobs before. I did corporate sales for a little bit. You know, it sucked. You know, working 9 to 5 and grinding, and you know, I had to do the dinners and the client dinners and all this stuff, and it was not fun. Yeah, it's, you know, you could pay me $1 million a year, but if, you know, I'm working 20-hour days, 6 days a week, and I can't see my kid and I can't do judo, I don't know if that's worth it. You know, we all have a price. $1 million a year, maybe I'll grind it out for a couple of years, put it in an index fund, and live off the dividends. I don't really know. That's a good question. But if you were to ask me, if you make the Olympics at age 25 and you live in a destitute life for the rest of your life versus me not making $1 million a year, I'd probably go with $1 million, truthfully. You know, the Olympics is just a small part of judo, right? There's much more to martial arts than just the competitive realm. And you know, that's the problem with a lot of these instructors. They only value the competition. It's like, oh, congratulations to this guy going to this tournament. We're preparing for this tournament, that tournament. You know, round of applause for this guy for going to that tournament. You know, when you're telling your students that there's not a lot of value in the people that aren't competing. But what percentage of your dojo competes? A very, very small amount. And I think some of those people are the most spectacular, right? Because they're just doing it for the love of it. Right? And they're there and they're working hard, and you know, there is no endorsement deal and the contract's that, and they're coming in day in and day out doing judo, and you know, you got to look at martial arts as a vehicle for self-improvement, right? And there's the philosophical side of it, and Yeah, I'm going on and on. That's a really tough question. I'd probably go with $1 million. Thanks for the question, Mark. All right, let's see. DIY throwing dummy. Man, people love their throwing dummies. Someone trains in a striking martial art, left side forward. Would you recommend that they stay left side forward than doing judo? Patrick? Yeah, that's one of the things, right? I mean, this is the thing. If you're right-handed and you can't punch with your left hand, then you might have to take that stance where, right, your right hand is back. Depends on how ambidextrous you are, what abilities that you currently have. If you are right-handed already and you know how to punch someone real good and you have great experience in striking as a right-handed traditional sort of a stance, then it might, benefit you to learn judo standing in the same way, which would be left-sided judo, right? But is your goal self-defense? Is your goal to be able to link the martial arts together? And that's really the question. For me, I boxed much later in life. I boxed maybe, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I don't consistently do it. I did it for a couple of years, in a row. But I had the opportunity to do it. And I already stood with my right leg forward for wrestling, judo, snowboarding, all these different things, right? So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep that stance and learn how to punch lefty. Also, I had a shoulder injury with my right side, so my right shoulder is not as strong. So that's the reason why I learned, right? And then coincidentally, my striking, system and then my grappling system work really well together. But there's a lot of different factors there, so it's going to be, or is having that power side forward that much of an advantage? It really depends, man, who you're going to punch, You saw Gaethje, just throwing these jabs out and taking out person. You could do a lot of damage with the jab, so it really depends. If it's the Patrick that I think it is from Kano, we could definitely keep going and have more of an in-depth conversation after we talk a little bit more about your striking background. I know you have a traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu background, but then, we'll talk a little bit more about it, right? Like I said, it always depends, right? Depends for so many different factors. All right. Athletes in the Olympics were polled to see if they would win the Olympics in 5 years and die from a substance or live a long life without Olympic gold. Over 90% chose winning the gold and dying. Yeah, that's true. And I am not one of those people. I don't want to fucking die in 5 years, I'm not willing to shave off years of my life and, it's just not me. Some people are bred that way, right? You're going to do fighting. I don't care if I get concussed. I don't care if I ever read a book again or be a vegetable. I'm going to go in and fight because that's what I'm passionate about. I don't care about anything else. I want to do it. There's people like that, I'm not one of those people, right? All right. Lots of questions here. That's great. Is there such a thing as a useless martial art? I mean, if all you want to do is learn how to punch someone because you grew up watching Mike Tyson and you choose to do a martial art that has no striking, no grappling, and it's all sort of this dancing-based thing, then yeah, you're in the wrong martial art, But if all you want to do is make an Olympic team, right, and you love grappling, and you decide to do Tai Chi, then you're in the wrong martial art. But if you're 70 years old and you want to do some sort of martial art, then Tai Chi is the thing for you. I kind of want to say there is no such thing as a useless martial art, but I see these no-touch knockout nonsenses on YouTube and stuff, and I think a lot of those things are nonsense, and it's useless. It's not only is it useless, it's damaging. For the people that are paying to learn this stuff, and they have this idea that they could defend themselves, and they go getting into a thing, walking around with this false confidence, getting into it, and they go, ha! And then the people don't fall over, and then, they could potentially get really injured, right? That's a harmful martial art. Not even useful, it's worse than useless. Man, don't even get me started on that. So yes, the answer, simple answer. I know I took a very long, roundabout way to answer that. There are useless martial arts. Anything that's full of shit that says no touch knockout, this and that, nonsense. Nonsense. Zachary, I hope I answered your question. All right, judo or high school wrestling for self-defense? I mean, I assume you're in high school. I think high school wrestling's great because you get to be around your peers. You get to be around other high school kids. You can compete with them. You can go to tournaments with them. You get on the bus, and there's 30 of your friends, and you're doing something with the school for the school. A lot of times, if you find a local dojo that's 20 miles away, you develop a new set of friends, but a lot of those friends might be older or younger, or they're not really exactly in your age range, and you take yourself out of the community of your high school. I think high school wrestling is always great. I think if you have the time, do both. Right? When I wrestled in high school, my mom would pick me up from wrestling practice at like 6 o'clock and then drive me to the dojo. That was the thing that I used to do. Right? Those were great days. I used to go to school like 10th grade or something, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I would go to school, I would wrestle. Right? My mom would come and get me, drive me to judo, and then I would do judo, and then my dad would I would drive back to the house with my dad. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would wrestle, and then I would take the train into Manhattan and wrestle with the New York Athletic Club, in the basement. Lots of grappling back then. I loved it. Loved it. It was amazing. Great times. All right. Nick Chillman, you grew up boxing and wrestling separately. I can fight southpaw, but I'm way better orthodox, but grapple right foot forward. I figured if I clinched, I could just bring my right foot up fast enough. Yeah, that's not a question, but thank you for the comment. As in, I am the Patrick from Kano. Thank you for being here, Patrick. Great seeing you. Hope to see you soon and work out with you soon. All right. If something could hurt me while I'm actively defending or attacking and not being a stooge, it's useful in some way. If Steven Seagal could throw you, how would you handle him in randori? That's kind of an unfair comparison because I'm a lot younger than Steven Seagal and I'm probably a lot stronger than him. And yeah, it just doesn't, he's really old. So yeah, that's probably an unfair comparison. All right, wow. I got through all these questions. Amazing. No more questions? Might get going then. Thank you guys for tuning in, hanging out with Shintaro. I hope that made this sort of a more weekly thing. I don't know if this format of just reading through the questions and answering it is useful for everybody because I find myself repeating, I guess maybe I'll do like a FAQ page or something like this. Yeah, hopefully I get to do more of these and I keep evolving in sort of this YouTube space. I guess this is sort of the new normal now for a little while. So if you have any ideas, send them my way. I have Instagram, YouTube. I don't really respond most of the time. Yeah, all right. Got a couple of things. Have I ever trained in Kendo? No, I have not. It's hard to establish dominant grip, get big grip throws. My rugby background, yeah, what can you do? Tanya Runage. Yeah, you got to work on gripping, man. Gripping in itself is a very unique and important part of judo because it's learning how to put your hands on somebody, right? And without putting your hands on somebody in the proper way, it's going to be very difficult to throw someone because if you're in losing position, you don't have leverage, right? You don't have any leverage, and nor do you have the ability to explode into position to throw the person, right? So you have to learn how to grip if you're going to learn to throw somebody. You don't want to be just a one-trick pony of doing Tani and Uranage. All right? So thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Happy Mother's Day. And good night.